Hey, welcome back to Workplace's YouTube channel. On today's show, we're talking about one of the hottest topics for small business owners right now: how to combine practical AI with weekly cash control to protect profits and lift margins. And of course, we're talking with Bruce Baker, who is a business builder at Workplaces, founder of Workplaces, and he specializes in helping owners scale up, fix up, or start up their businesses with proven financial operational systems. Hey, Bruce, I'm excited about this topic. How about you?
Oh, very excited. This is, like you say, it's a hot topic, and people are either excited about it or not excited at all, but it's something that we have to live with in business, and we got to get it done.
Yeah, just like the advent of the internet or the wheel, AI is here and it's not going away. So you better get comfortable using it.
You betcha.
All right. So first question, Bruce, let's start with the big picture. All right.
You bet.
Why is this topic, AI and cash control, so urgent for small business owners in 2025?
You know, it's when we look at our world today, not just in Canada, but throughout the world, costs are just going way up, and being able to pivot, being able to manage your financials, specifically in this case, cash flow, is becoming more and more difficult. So we either go out to very expensive experts that can do it for us, or we hope being the operative word, that we've got the time to actually analyze that. But cash flow is like the oxygen, right? You only realize you've got a cash problem when you run out of oxygen, right? Yeah. So unfortunately, that reactive cycle becomes very unhealthy and very disruptive to a business. So really what AI is helping a lot of our clients do right now, and I'm not just our clientele, I'm seeing a lot of businesses do it as well, is they're using AI to do that quick pivot, to do that quick analysis. And AI, if we can make the analysis much shorter, and gives us the opportunity to pivot quickly, because that's what it's all about. You know, in accounting, they call it lead indicators and lag indicators. And for the most part, traditionally, we deal with lag indicators. And what that means is that at the end of the month, we say we either had a great month or we had a terrible month, right? How about we start to implement lead indicators, which means that if we can find out something sooner than it happens, it gives us that lead, it gives us a proactive pivot. We can start making decisions quicker with AI, which is absolutely liberating.
Nice. Yeah, that would be very helpful, because a lot of, we were talking just minutes before we started shooting this video.
Yeah.
When it comes to our customers, a lot of them are very intimidated by finances.
Yeah.
They're intimidated by, how much do their employees cost? What should they be charging per hour of work and that sort of thing. So
absolutely,
being able to kind of figure out your job costing ahead of time kind of would be helpful for a lot of people.
100%.
So question 2 is, you often talk about weekly cash discipline.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that actually looks like?
Yeah, it's. I always say it's becoming intimate with your business flow, your business cash flow. And what I mean by that is very similar to the analogy I used with oxygen in your first question. Your business breathes in and breathes out just like we do. The only difference is we've got a central autonomic nervous system that does it automatically for us, where the business in itself as a system relies on a business owner or a team to be able to do that. The word cash and discipline are two important words. One, because a business is a system, and just like we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, we do that correctly by breathing in more oxygen than carbon dioxide, but also the timing in terms of when we breathe in and when we breathe out is absolutely critical. To personify it from a business perspective, your business's cash flow needs to be, of course, more money in than money out, if we can help it and manage it correctly, but also the timing of money. And the timing of money is very much your accounts payables and receivables. So the timing between when you push money out, when your business breathes out, it needs to breathe out at a relatively good time when it's breathing in as well. So you're not pushing so much cash out that you've got very little to bring in again, which sends a similar shockwave through the business. So your cash discipline is something that we encourage our clients to do. It varies from one industry to another industry, but on a weekly basis, you are what we call it as weekly financials. And on a Sunday, we're looking at how much money is leaving my business this week, breathing out, first we look at that. And the reason we look at that first is now that we know that we're probably going to see $30,000-$40,000 out this week, what are we doing to at least break even? We know our cost. How are we going to at least break even? It's the least we can do for our business. If we can break even, fantastic. If we can profit, even better, right? Which is where we want to be. So that discipline every week, and at the end of the week, you do exactly the same thing. The only difference is you look back in time. How accurate was I? What do I need to do? What do I need to change? You then look at the next week and you do exactly the same thing. The liberating or a big advantage from this, Trevor, is you get the opportunity to pivot. Meaning if I'm not breaking even this week or not making a profit this week, what can I do next week? And if you think about it, you're getting 4 to 5 chances a month to pivot and change. And if we add the AI mix in it, you don't have to be doing this manually. You can take a 30-minute period before AI and condense this down to 5 minutes and know exactly what you do and when to do it and how to do it.
Okay, so let's talk about how AI fits into this scenario, because a lot of owners have no clue what they're doing with AI.
Absolutely. So an example. Before AI, we built some spreadsheets for our clients to do the weekly financials, which meant opening up your bank account, looking at your statements or downloading your statements, taking one entry per entry, putting in how much money is going to go out, how much money is going to come in, looking at the difference, looking at your net cash flow, creating pivot charts or pivot tables in your spreadsheet to make sure that you can see trends. All fantastic stuff if you know how to use Excel, creating your slicers and your dicers or whatever the case may be. But on average, this takes a business owner to do this correctly let's say each Sunday or Monday, depending when you want to do it, 30 to 40 minutes to do a good, correct job of it. Sometimes a little longer if you don't have all the information you need. Most of our clients are now on what we like to call as our AI applets, right? Where on average, it takes no more than about 5 minutes to do. So the application actually goes in, depending, of course, confidentiality is important, either into your bank account or you download your statement, upload it, and it does the analysis and provides you the intelligence automatically.
Nice.
And honestly, how much does it cost? Probably about $10. Right? So when we talk about AI and talk about cash flow and expenditure, you can already see it takes a good 45 minutes out of every piece that you do. You don't have to spend large amounts of money on the application, and it's so easy to do and very liberating.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about owners that are nervous about AI. What are some of the pitfalls that they should avoid?
Absolutely. So first, I think it's imperative to say that, from a business practical standpoint, there is absolutely nothing to be nervous about. And the reason I say that is because it's relatively intuitive and the learning curve is actually quite short. Many people would disagree and would try to make it sound more intimidating and more complex, but it really isn't. As far as the AI adoption is concerned, a couple of things just to watch out for is, number one, there are tons of options out there. And I've always said, and it's something we preach in workplaces, is keep it simple. Complexity is not what we need in business. We need sophistication, but keep it simple. Mm-hmm. Start your journey by looking at some simple applications, and where you feel encumbered or where you feel overwhelmed, and for most entrepreneurs, it's in the administrative side of their business, is to really think, if I think about something that I really don't like to do and it's an absolute drag on my time, could I use AI to either automate that or replace it completely for me? What I would recommend, and this is something else that keeps people back, before applying or going forward, when you're thinking about which application to use, put cost, time, and concern about confidentiality aside first. And a lot of people come back to me and say, well, Bruce, I got to be it's got to be confidential. It's got to, absolutely it does. And there are some phenomenal applications out there that respect that privacy and confidentiality. The problem that we find is that entrepreneurs get stuck because I'm not going to try because of these things, whether it's restrictions in terms of resources or restrictions because of confidentiality. So that's number one. Number two, and I'll just mention number two and we can move on. But number two is becoming absolutely overwhelmed and driven by AI. And what do I mean by that? So I work with a company in the construction industry that has adopted their AI and they're doing really, really well because of it. The problem that we have is that it's like introducing key performance indicators or measures to a business for the first time. And we get the typical thing that I say no more than 3 measures at a time. Let's figure out, let's make sure it works and then move on. But people go overboard and the next minute they've got 10, 15 KPIs that they're using. The same thing with AI, and we're seeing it with this client, is that everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything, has to go through, be it GPT or Claude or whatever AI you're using. And what we find is that it takes away that creative thinking. It takes away the very soul of your business and who you are, because you rely so much on it building. And that's something that I want to encourage entrepreneurs to be cautious, because you lose the core of your business. Be involved in the building, right? But utilize AI not to dictate or redirect your business. Use AI as a guide or something to get you excited in terms of what's actually possible with AI.
Yeah, use it as a tool like it is.
Absolutely.
And not as your guide or your confidant.
Absolutely.
They're not taking over your business. You're using them as a tool to help you make better decisions.
Well, you're absolutely right. People need to remember you started your business because you're excited about doing something. Your business is your baby in many respects, right? It's your fabric. And, we don't want to take that away. We want to keep it uniquely you and uniquely your team, right? So don't lose that.
Could you share a quick story of how you've been able to implement this with one of your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got an HVAC, or worked with an HVAC company, about $3 million a year and about 35 employees. And I'll go back to the accounts receivables, payables reference I made earlier on. The big issue was receivables weren't coming in fast enough. The receivables weren't enough, meaning there was a lot of aging in terms of, and I'm talking 90 plus 180 days aging.
Wow. Okay.
So obviously from a cash perspective, it was starving the business quite significantly. The other issue was in terms of payables, for obvious reasons. If we don't have receivables, we're going to struggle with payables. And then the third component was obviously the timing between this. And what we did was we created an application. It wasn't overly complex, but it looked at timing in terms of, one, we made it reference when things were coming out the bank, right? Or when the business was breathing out, as we would explain, and what we needed and when we needed at the time. Initially, we built it just to provide internal guidance and flag on certain things. Eventually, we actually connected it to QuickBooks, and we initiated reminders in QuickBooks through this application. And I guess the only complex thing about building this at the time, today it's not complex at all anymore, is what we call as an API, or as I like to easily describe it, as a bridge between two different systems, one talking English, the other one talking French, and the API connecting these two. And that's when we actually connected it to QuickBooks. The result was absolutely outstanding, because I remember the business owner telling me, well, sending people emails and chasing afterward is probably not going to change much. And it was phenomenal in terms of timing. You have one more week to get this in, because next week's going to be a big week in terms of payroll, in terms of all this. But the chasing people down and reminding people was something that was an absolute game changer. So Number one, we got receivables down. I remember the largest one was 186 days. We got receivables, the aging down to about 35, 36 days.
Nice.
Right. And that helped with the intake. And as far as payables are concerned, it gave the difference, the gap between accounts receivables, or money in, money out, very accurately. So we knew exactly what to do. And remember, they were using weekly cash management, so they could see it and pivot very, very quickly with the AI in place.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Last question. What is one habit that you want every owner listening today to adapt tomorrow?
Absolutely. We're talking about cash, and I know that, we spoke about the weekly cash management. I can't emphasize this more that I do is it's not an exciting thing to do for most entrepreneurs, unless you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, et cetera, and that's your business. But for most entrepreneurs that are not financial experts, and nor do they have to be, is having to do weekly cash management. And the reason why this should become a discipline is because even though it may be boring to do every week, one of the key components to this is that from a psychological standpoint, because we know running and building a business is hard, lots of emotion involved, and it gets exhausting at times. But one of the key components that exhaust us is the notion of money. I have to look at my bank account. I have to know how much money I have before payroll comes at the end of the week. And that is stressful. So we become adverse to looking at our cash. But when we start to do this and work with this rhythm on a weekly basis, what we start to do is we desensitize ourselves. For the first month to two, it's difficult. I've been there, done that. But over 3 months, right, it becomes normal. And what's really cool about this, and I don't have any objective information to qualify this, but what I've experienced, what a lot of others report to me as well, is I get in sync with my business's rhythm, its cycle of cash in and cash out. And I know how to make decisions far more effectively, when to make them, but I also don't really lose sleep over money, even though I am not breaking even or I'm having a tough month or 2 or 3 months. It doesn't keep me awake. Why? Because I know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, and I know exactly what to do tomorrow. That, for any human being, I don't care who you are, is liberating. We want control, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get comfortable with your cash. Get comfortable looking at it.
Absolutely.
Because we have to measure what we treasure.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So and because, like you said, cash is the lifeblood of your business. It is the breath, the oxygen that you need to keep the fires going.
Yeah.
Stop being scared to look at it.
Yeah.
Right?
And you just triggered something in my mind as you said that. I want listeners to also remember that cash is the lifeblood, right? You've got to keep cash like oxygen flowing through the body, through the business on a regular basis. You can't stop that. But remember, cash is an outcome, not the main important thing.
That's right.
It's your actions, your behaviors, what you intend to do and get used to is what's most important, and the cash will come.
That's right. I couldn't have said it better. So Bruce, thank you so much for giving us such a clear and practical playbook. For listeners, remember, a 30-minute weekly cash check-in and a few smart AI tools can protect your business and margins in just 60 days. You can connect with Bruce at Workplaces for a free checklist and business building session.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.